Hello everyone. So today we're taking a look at a really interesting little tablet. This is the Iconia Tab and it's the A210. Now what's quite special about this is it's a 10.1 inch screen running a Tegra 3 processor, 16 gig flash memory, 1 gig of RAM, and as I say, a 10.1 inch screen. And that's running I think a 1280-800 for this particular model. It has Wi-Fi built in, it's your standard 802.11 BGN, GPS and a front-facing camera. There's Bluetooth and a micro SD card slot and a big chunky rechargeable battery in there, lithium ion. Now the great thing I found with this tablet is the battery life is very good, and more importantly the charging time isn't really horrible. What they've done with this particular tablet is to place a separate charger on there. So rather than charging through USB, which can be quite slow, especially if you have a large tablet with a large battery, instead they have a small AC adapter basically, plug it in and your tablet starts charging. Now the great thing with this is it charges the entire tablet in just a couple of hours, as opposed to with a battery of this size you could be talking up to 4 to 5 hours if you're charging off a USB socket, especially if that USB socket was on a PC and a bit low powered. Really nice to see some thought having gone in here to make sure that, you know, the tablet is able to charge as fast as humanly possible and really make use of that large battery. The specs of this tablet are absolutely phenomenal. First thing I need to really say is the price. The price for this tablet is an RRP of £220, and that's for a 10.1 inch screen running a Tegra 3. That's a very, very keen price point for them to have hit. Now, where you're kind of losing a little bit is this is a plastic fronted screen. So the viewing angle's not as good as they could be, and there is a little bit of a kind of trans-reflective coating going on that in some direct sunlight is going to make things a little bit difficult to read. But for use around the home, and as we found on a long car journey the other day, 9 hours in a car, it really, really excels itself as a great all-round little tablet. From being able to pull up things like Google Maps to being able to play the latest games or check the internet, it does a very good, well-rounded job in this package. The tablet itself isn't too heavy. It's about on par with an iPad. And one of the things I really like that they've done with this tablet is you've got 2 speakers for starters, so you actually have some stereo sound going on. And the back is made of a kind of a textured plastic, is the best way to describe it. But because of this texture, your hands don't get too sweaty when you're using it. They can actually breathe, the skin can breathe. And so you don't kind of end up with, well, let's face it, clammy tablet syndrome. Who wants clammy tablet syndrome? The design is really nice. The tapered edges mean that it sits nicely in your hands, and whilst, you know, I always have issues with large badges being shoved all over tablets, you know, it doesn't detract too much having that Acer logo on there. Now, on the side is where things have got quite interesting for this tablet. Instead of just popping on a micro USB socket, as most do, there's actually a USB to go socket on here. So you can plug in a memory stick, keyboard and mice using a native full-sized USB port on this side. And you also have a micro SD slot as well that can take up to a 64 gig micro SD card. There's a lot of expandability here, which is really nice to see. Now, as we know from all Tegra 3 equipped hardware, they scream for gaming. Let's face it, if it's got Tegra 3 in it, we know it's going to game well. And the same is absolutely true here for the Iconia Tab A210. It's a phenomenal little gaming tablet. As we'll see in the benchmarks shortly, it's up there with the Nexus 7 and also with the Galaxy Tab 10.1 as well. A tablet that is reasonably more expensive than this one, yet the Iconia holds its own. Software-wise, this is running Android 4.12, so we have the standard tablet UI going on here, but with a few tweaks that Acer have made to kind of just customise it for their own, although don't expect the full TouchWiz or Sense UI kind of OTT-ness going on. The customisations here are more subtle than that, I would say. And so our main changes really are within our settings pop-up panels, just reskinned and realigned basically. And then if we come into our main settings area, again, things are very standard in here. Very standard kind of Android layout, so no confusion there. But what they have added is a system known as the Ring, and this is quite reminiscent of the Google camera utility that's appeared in 4.2.2 or 4.2, where you have a pop-up ring that allows you quick access to certain features, and it actually lives down here within the interface. So along your navigation bar at the bottom you have this green button. Pressing that brings up this quick launch system where you can easily adjust your volume control without having to go to your volume rockers on the top here, or quick launch some of the standard applications. And you can customize these. If you press your center button, it will bring you into the Google Now system, which is really nicely integrated on this tablet. You can see here from the settings for the Ring system that you can change which shortcuts appear there, making it quite customizable and actually user-friendly for a change. At least this isn't a Android add-on or customization that's basically quite limited, so only doing what Acer would like. It's nice that we've got some additional software here that adds functionality and makes the tablet easier to use, rather than just bloating it out with something nobody's ever going to want to use. Really nice to see. And the whole time I was working with the Iconia tab, I kept thinking to myself, only a 200 quid tablet. It feels like it should be worth more like the 300 mark. Now yes, let down slightly by the plastic fronted screen, but as we've discussed previously, for some owners that's actually a bonus because they're not going to have to worry about smashing their glass screen. So when you actually look at what they've produced here within the Iconia tab, it's a really nice little package at an incredibly keen price point. Certainly when we've looked at other £200 tablets recently, we were impressed. But the Iconia tab feels like taking that £200 price point and polishing it up to create a really good quality tablet. There's no slowdown. One of the things that we've noticed on some of the cost-effective tablets, let's call it cost-effective rather than cheap, when applications are being installed to the internal memory, there's kind of a lag and a slowdown that kind of occurs. And that's because of the way that the system is accessing the memory, the storage memory, and at the same time, the device wants to carry on using the memory. Only one thing can kind of happen simultaneously. When you're working with the Tegra 3 system, things are a lot more smooth and fluid. The whole Tegra 3 system was designed to be very lag-free. And so, as you can see, when we're whizzing between applications, when we're whizzing around our interface, when we're loading things up like real racing, everything is really fast and smooth, even if you happen to be installing things in the background. We noticed a small amount of stutter, but so little and tiny in comparison to some of the other tablets we've tested that it's more like a nitpick than anything else. And certainly if you're worried about a little bit of stutter when you're installing a game, wait for the thing you're installing to finish, then carry on playing your game. But in nearly all cases I was able to carry on gaming away whilst I was installing stuff in the background and had absolutely no problems. And here you can see we've booted up Real Racing and it's just looking great, as we would expect from a device running a Tegra 3 processor. The screen brightness can allow for slightly washed out colours at times, and we found that the optimal setting is around 80% of brightness if you want that kind of nice pop from the screen colours. But that said, even on the highest brightness settings, this is still a great looking screen backed up with a really nice little processor. If you're looking for a gaming tablet, or if you're looking for a good all-round tablet that's going to be capable of doing anything you might want, I think the Iconia tab is well worth looking at. Yet again, Acer have pulled off a cracking little tablet in the A210. Having such a large amount of screen real estate means that games and applications can really be seen. And whilst the screen's resolution is a little on the low side, for a tablet of this price point, I don't think you're going to be able to do much better. It's a quality screen with a very good graphics processor, and it works beautifully together. And as we'll see in a benchmark now, you're going to get a very fast little chip. So to finish things off, we're going to run the Ice Storm demo, and this is by 3D Mark. And the idea behind this demo is to really stress the hardware to show what it's capable of both now and in the future. And so whilst you'll notice the frame rate when we do this benchmark is going to go up and down, it might seem a little low, the idea is this is a synthetic benchmark that really tests what the next generation of games could very well be like on mobile devices. And so when we kind of compare apples to apples, one tablet to another tablet or to a smartphone, this gives us a way of creating a baseline so that we know that if we run this particular benchmark across 3 or 4 different tablets, we can get a comparison. And we can say, okay, this tablet is faster than this tablet, and so on. So like I say, you will see the frame rate goes up and down whilst we do this. And you can see here it's going between sort of 15 frames a second up to 20 frames a second, and so on. But the idea, like I say, is to show what your hardware might be capable of. This isn't a game, it's purely a benchmark, and it's designed to stress as much as possible the hardware we're testing it on. So what we'll do, we'll leave this running, we'll fast forward through it from a video point of view so you can just get an idea of what happens, and then we'll see our final score at the end. Okay, and here we are with our final score for the Iconia tab. This is on the standard ice mark test. And it's 3616. Now, as you can see, it puts it just behind the Samsung Galaxy Tab 10.1 LTE, which is a fairly substantially expensive piece of kit, and there's not a right lot of difference in the scores there. And overall, this has turned out to be a very good mid-range tablet at a very good keen price. Like I say, just over the £200 mark will get you a very capable gaming machine running a Tegra 3 processor, 1GB of RAM, 16GB of storage space, and a 10.1 screen. Oh, and one of the best batteries I think I've seen on a tablet for a long time. This is a fantastic little tablet, and certainly it's one you should take a look at if you're thinking of making a purchasing decision. Don't discount this Acer just because it's an Acer. I think this one's worth checking out.